Diolch. Mae Carod yma yn cael ei recordio
So
ac bydd ar
this
gael lein
meeting
yn
is
ymlaen.
being recorded.
Os ydych yn hapus gyda hyn, gadewch y Carod yma.
If you're not happy with this, please let us know. Right, well, very good morning to you all, to the meeting, and it's a wonderful morning, and thank you for joining with us both remotely and in person. So let's go straight to move progress. So those are our apologies, and thank you. And let's move on to item 2. Does anyone wish to declare any interests with regards to any item that might arise? No, everybody happy? Right, let's move on then to the minutes of the last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to peruse them? Can anyone move them as a true account? Thank you. And seconded, Meryl proposing, Anwen seconding. And we'll sign them with you later on. Thank you very much. Right, let's move on then to the business end of this. Let's move on to item 4 with action points, and Iwan will open on this. Thank you. Yeah, just a couple of items on this. And they're all being implemented consecutively. Thank you very much. So are there any comments to be made on these? Please raise your hands. Let us know. Okay, you're happy? Excellent, thank you. Right, let's move on to item 5, the project completion report for Dolgellau. Naomi is here. Welcome, Naomi. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, this scheme is about to come into force now over the next couple of weeks, and it's a capital scheme that will be implemented in Dolgellau and has been in operation since 2017. The second one for the authority to fulfil in town, focusing on listed buildings and traditional buildings. And as you know, the Dolgellau area includes more than 200 listed buildings, and it's one of the special characteristics of this area, and so it's such a well-known town for that reason. Now, the work itself regarding grants for owners and residents is within the boundary of the project, but this time it's much smaller catchment area now, and so we identified buildings that fit that criteria right at the start of the scheme, and the work will bring an economic benefit to the area by promoting businesses and regenerating the town. And the scheme certainly has had a very positive effect on both the town and its image. The partnership work is very important as well, especially with the owners of the area, but also our main funding partners, Cadw and Gwynedd Council, and we've worked with them for more than 10 years, and this work is now continuing. So there's also an element of organisation here, which is the community engagement work. And I'd like to say as well that the way that the Lotteridge Heritage Fund, the attitude towards this has changed completely since the beginning of this project, because at the time, the work of community engagement was something in addition to the capital work, where now they expect both things to work in parallel and far more emphasis. So we work with 2 partners in the community here, which is the Dolgellau Partnership and the Aram Group, and there's a variety of work coming through them. Now, the scheme, of course, was implemented initially through the pandemic periods, and it's fair to say that it had an effect on the scheme because of the economic impacts and all the effects of the pandemic, which caused an increase in costs, and the Wilkins paper shop work was affected. That was the high priority project which we identified. And when you see it, you'll understand why. And we contacting the owner of the building during that building, it was a bit like dominoes collapsing, you know. So it's taken a lot longer to complete the project because of that. But obviously, there were factors at work there that were beyond our control. So the capital work is focused on the buildings, and the work, for example, in Sosban, which has been referred to, has won awards for the roof, and the change to that building has been quite significant. And then the community engagement work has been quite diverse. And John Ellis, the project manager, decided to put this piece of work in under the care of the community itself. And that presented both benefits and different challenges too. But it certainly did help us work closer with people, even though we lost the central control, if you like. And they got out of it what they wanted to spend on that project. And that was really important, that they were able to prioritise. And the funding system for the scheme is very simple. It's worth just over 2.5 million. And like I said, Cadw, Gwynedd Council and the Heritage Lottery Fund fund it. And there are private people then undertaking different schemes. And that cooperation then with the owners is really important. And of course, in the end, the benefit is for the public sphere in Dolgellau, but also it's an investment in the buildings themselves. As I was saying, the approach of the Heritage Lottery Fund to the project they've been funding has changed completely since this scheme was funded in 2016, 2017. And we've seen that there is a demand, a continuous demand for investment in the town. And it's for that reason that we were listing expressions of interest to the Heritage Lottery Fund in March, and that's become part of our bid for later this year for a further project. And that project will be very different to the scheme that we're about to complete, because it'll have to look specifically at matters such as nature, environmental conservation, and the community element and so on, which means that the emphasis will be rather different, and that'll give us a very exciting opportunity in the working group. Brian was saying that restoration is central to all the decisions they make, and that scheme then gives us a really good opportunity to experiment with that in an area where we wouldn't even have considered previously. So it gives an opportunity to build on the other projects and achieving all of that within the sustainability project, the traditional sustainability extended projects, and the programme that is a traditional one too. So a number of things coming together there. Hopefully it will enable us to deliver quite an exciting project. And I want to say that we've prevented that expression of interest before looking at all these new options. And having a discussion with lottery people in terms of how they'd like to see the applications come in and what sort of risk is there towards submitting more than one application. But they're very happy to see the second bid. It's of interest to them. So I'll be about April. And that's it, I think. One aspect in the third scheme, we would be looking at more work working with the in partnership with the council, and there's a lot of sort of development work and discussion work to go into that before anything happens there. Well, thanks, Naomi. Thanks for the report. So I can see that Brian's got his hand up. Brian, would you like to come in? And then Louise, yeah? Brian.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, I want to congratulate the team, obviously, on what's been a very successful project and clearly had a major impact on Dolgellau and will do going on further. My question, it really is clearly there are other concentrations of historic buildings, listed buildings in other parts of the park, maybe not to the same extent. What are the opportunities for extending that to a project which may not be so tightly focused to one community, but would be able to see lottery monies with other monies invested on a wider basis?
Ie, mae hwnna rhywbeth da ni wedi drafod sawl gwaith. Un o'r rhesymau,
That's something we discussed several times. One of the reasons that we're looking at this was one of the things that Brian was suggesting there. But 14 of those authorities are in the national park, and we are succeeding with a lot of the projects in terms of improving the efficiency of the buildings, hand in hand with the traditional restoration program. So I would like to see something like this happening on a much wider scale, and hopefully if the lottery bid supports it, well, I think one thing would be, a reason for it would be impact, and it's something I think, yeah, I'd be very happy to discuss to see if there are opportunities to extend out better in those other areas. And I know that there's been a discussion historically which was previously rejected, but I think things change, and it's worth asking that, yes.
Yeah, could I just follow that up, Chair? I mean, really, I think if we're successful in this next bid going forward, once you know the ink is dry on the paper, so to speak, perhaps it would be an opportunity to seek assistance from the lottery as to what the opportunities are and how it might be structured before we put too much effort into you know, putting something to them. In other words, engage them early in the process. If they're impressed with what we do and like what we do and have trust in what we do, they might well say, well, look, we can see what the opportunities are. If you present it in this way, it would sit easier with us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. Louise, you want to come in?
Just unmute myself. So this is a very interesting project. Dolgellau is totally fascinating town. Did any of you know that it has a long Quaker history? And there was, by the river on the Mice car park, there was a ducking stool there for poor unfortunate women that were accused of witchcraft. I just find that really fascinating. Perhaps we ought to have a pamphlet made of the history of Dolgellau. The saucepan building itself is fascinating. If any of you haven't been in there, you need to go in. So there is one thing that I'd like to draw to your attention. It's an ongoing historical problem with the shared chimney of Maesgwyn Cadder Road, and it is a listed building, and that presents all sorts of problems for people that live there, etc., etc. It's compromising the structural integrity of the building. And this building, well, this particular problem seems to have slipped through the cracks, if you excuse the pun, because the chimney obviously has an enormous impact on the rest of the building because of water ingress, and it's damaging the roof, and it goes all the way down. So is that something that I could bring to your attention for you to look into, please? It's Maesgwyn Cadder Road, just at the top of Elgin Square.
Yeah, no, wedi nodi ac ie, na'n edrych am yno fo. Diolch.
Yeah, we'll look at that. Thanks. Yeah.
Diolch, Louise.
Thanks, Louise.
Iawn, diolch, Robert. O'n i'n falch o dŵad Naomi cyfeirio at Harlech.
I heard Naomi referring to Harlech. I, on a weekly basis, get complaints from local people and strangers to the area with regards to the condition of the town as one approaches it from. I mean, the thing is what they see first when they come into the town, and you know, obviously there's a lot that they don't
i'r maes parcio.
who won't just bother then going forwards. They go to the car park and out. And I've mentioned it to the planning officers, and what the community council have said to the owners of these places, and they just laugh at them in our faces. But there's an awful appearance to the place, you know. I don't know what the park could do. I mean, I know there are two significant developments pending. The old Toyota showroom, as we call it, and the chemist has moved to the old spa. And then the middle of the town looks quite nice, but as you approach it, that first impression that people get is unacceptable. And I don't know whether something we could do as an authority to maybe hold these owners of the shops to account, to make them do something to improve the appearance of the town in general. Well, we're running a small travelling plan. Now, that's now come to an end. It happened, including the spa, and we're still working with Cadw on a bigger programme with regards to the college there. From my experience in Harlech and in Dolgellau, when we invite declarations of expressions of interest, a lot of people will show interest, and then in Harlech, the budget was a lot smaller anyway than in Dolgellau, so we had to focus on external works and commercial buildings only. But then when it comes to the time to submit a grant application, they then realise just how much investment is needed. And in a period of cost of living crisis, I mean, it's the same for everybody, but you know, they start counting the pennies, and that generous budget is then no longer with them to offer such grants. So certainly, I think we could do more to sell, you know, all the positive work that's been done in Harlech and try to get people to engage with that, and in other areas too. And you know, there are 25-year grants with a history here where there's been investment, and we know several that are screaming for investment, but there are smaller projects that can happen to improve the appearances of such buildings, I think. Yeah, there's one where the owner of the building is retired, and it's only a little thing. There's an enormous piece of cardboard there. If we could give it a coat of paint and remove that, right, it would look so much better, but it looks awful when you come into Harlech. Now, I know that there are some places in Harlech that got grants years ago for refurbishing and restoring, but I don't know whether someone could step in to do something. It needs doing desperately. Thank you. Thanks, Naomi. Edgar. Yeah, just two things. With the saucepan to start with, and the work on the roof, and the importance of keeping that. It's a lovely place, but and the banks too. But the thing I was most worried about was the old Mrs. Wilkes' shop. Now, paper shop. She died, and I don't know whether anything's been done since. Yeah, I think her daughter's taken it, but a lot of work has gone in. But I'm glad that it's. Yeah. Right. The issue here is that, you know, when it's handed on to a new owner, yes, do they want to continue the work? But it has improved Dolgellau, there's no doubt about it. Yeah. See, part of this work is to reach out to owners and find out what the interest is. One building we've identified was the Tŷ Meudon Tourism Centre. We hoped that that would be a part of the current plan. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out. Circumstances made it difficult, but I do hope that'll take a very high priority next. Thank you, Dennis. Thanks. This is an astounding project. I haven't quite understood that there were like 200 within the town. It's incredible, isn't it? And the work they do is amazing. Maybe we could organise a trip there as members of the board, you know? I think there's room for that. But that's not the reason why I was raising it. Actually, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but referring back to the point of the Heritage Lottery Fund, have they said put both bids in, or have they said put both bids in, then we'll advise you, or have they said no, it's okay, submit the bids? They've said it's okay, but that the timing is important. So that if, so the timing is important, and I made a expression of interest. Now, the Heritage Lottery Fund has got two general pots, one for $250,000, one for $250,000 in 10 years, and so we went for the $250,000 to 10 million pot. Now, the other one, plus, might be a higher priority project, and we might be applying to Welsh Government and SSP there for more money. So more money than we would normally ask for. And that's in order to give us the option of applying for that other pot of below $250,000 with the lottery. Now, they've received that information from us, and what we've had back as feedback is that the under $250,000 pot is much more competitive. The risk is there both ways. I can't foresee that we wouldn't be putting this bid in before November anyway. So we've got quite a lot of time. And so we can have that feedback before we decide what steps to take moving forward. Okay. Yeah. Right. Is it going to come in front of the same committee separately? Right. The $250,000 one will be determined by a panel of officers. The 10 million one will be determined by members of the board, of the Heritage Board. So I was asking whether having two applications in the same geographical area, to all extents and purposes, would be more of a risk, but apparently not. And they had examples where that had worked before. And so you've got it in Gwynedd, and these have all happened within Northwest Wales, and they were very comfortable receiving and approving. So long as you time things properly. So it's capacity of staff. That's the biggest thing that they want us to identify. And it's very important that these projects have sufficient staff. Right, great, thanks. Yeah, just building on Della's point, I agree. I think one thing we're not as good at in this authority is, celebrating once those projects have come to an end. You get John Ellis, the project manager, to take us around and show us pictures of before and after. It's very striking, what's happening is far-reaching, especially with Sosban, So, I was there about 2 weeks ago. It really is impressive. And I know that Louise has asked in the chat for a contact name and number. So the name of the guy is John Ellis, Louise.
And phone number?
Nawn ni cyswllt ymlaen i chi, Louise.
Iawn, diolch.
Iawn. Diolch yn iawn i chi gyd, a diolch Naomi am y
Okay, well,
waith.
thank you all very much, and thanks Naomi for that work and the report. So on to the recommendation. So to support the intention to bid for the project and then also to develop, isn't it? So yeah, we're all in support of that. Can everyone show that they're happy? Right, okay, excellent. That's unanimous, excellent. And thank you, Naomi, for the report, thank you. Great, so let's move on then to item 6 on the agenda, the annual report. Just for information, Bethan? Yeah, thank you. Well, this is the annual report on freedom of information applications. Last year, we received 42 freedom of information applications on a very wide range of subjects, as outlined in the report. It's important to note that every single application was responded to within the statutory period, and no complaints were made to the Information Commissioner following that. And also, you'll see details of which act was used to deal with the applications, how many were refused, how many were dealt with fully, and some partially. So normally, I welcome any questions, but as you can see here, the contents of the report is noted for the Senedd. Yeah, just wanted to congratulate Bethan on the fact she dealt with them all so well, and that they've been done in such a timely fashion, enabling people to move on the next step. But I've got one question though, and that is that in that second table,
environmental installation regulations.
About the regulations, there's one which we've refused because it was already in the public domain. Now, I've noticed a couple of public bodies recently have said, hey, this is public domain. Do we then refer people to where that information is? Yes, we do. Often it's on our own website. People haven't looked properly. Or sometimes they put an FOI for, say, planning information, which obviously is available publicly anyway. So we then signpost them, point them to where it is, or sometimes just make additional copies for them to answer. But quite formally, it's still a refusal. Yeah, yeah, quite right. Just when you say, oh, it's there, and you just don't do anything about it, it doesn't help anyone. Yeah, great. Thank you. Oh, thank you for a very full answer. Edgar? Yeah, and are there any other comments before we close? No? No? Okay. Well, let's move on then. Can you just show approval? Thank you very much. And thank you, Bethan. So, if we move on to item 7 now, and we're going to have Iwan reporting on this. Right, well, so it's an update on the risk, and it's dated 13th of November. Now, currently, the risk is identified, and of these, 3 are high risk, 14 are medium, and 3 are low. There is one new risk that has come to light, and the details are there on the paragraph 5.5 of the report, and you will see that we do tackle all the possible risks, both financial that are approaching. So the only further change is risk 18, which was the proposed introduction of Article 4 direction, risk of judicial review. That's gone from low risk to medium risk, and that stems from the fact that a successful application was made to Gwynedd Council, that they got following due process. And on paragraph 5.7, you'll see with risk number 4, that it continues to be a medium risk, and then risk 17, I think that's the senior management team, that remains a medium risk, but it's now been removed from the risk register entirely since all things have come to pass. So the recommendation generally is that we discuss the contents of the report and review the changes, and also agree to remove risk 4 from the risk register as outlined in the report. And that's the report. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Iwan. So can we just right, Tim coming in for a question. So I want to raise a question on page 21. I think there's a typo there on the English version where it says it talks about the working group of 2024, and I think they meant 2025. And then also there is a new risk, and it says the risk is going down, but I think until we've found a resolution of that, then I wouldn't like to say that. I think we should just say that it's remaining where it is. Yeah, I think because it's a new risk, and that the innate risk was there, and the intervention we put in took it down from 20 to 15. And that's only there at all because there was a new risk. So we put it in, and because there are actions being taken, it's reduced the risk down to 15. So yeah, I think it's just because of the new risk. Yeah, understood that. But I feel that it shouldn't be going down at all. It should carry on as it is. Well, you know, there are other risks that have been reduced. You know, for example, risk 16, that's gone from 12 to 6, the work put in, but it's still on the same level. And so I would say we should carry it on at the same level. Yeah, that goes from one to the other. But risk 20 is because it's new, it's brand new. So I would assume that it would stay at 15 from now on. So that's where it'll. Okay, well, I don't want to continue this conversation. That's fine. I made my point.
Just ar gyfer y cyfle, nes ti dweud bod ti'n argymell risk 4, risk 17 o'r un dynnu, just rhaid ti gan ddaf, ti'n yeah, sorry. Mi ddeis yw'n dwi'n siŵr, ond risk 17 sy'n cael ei brynu. Risk 4, gostwng i...
Risk 4 is reducing to low, and risk 5, the score in relation to the risk there, and risk 17 in relation to the management team, that's reducing. Okay, thanks. Iwan has noted the recommendation. Before we go to the recommendation, it's a risk 4 is supposed to be risk 17. So can we change the recommendation to risk 17, please? Okay, seconded. Show of hands, please. Thank you very much. On to item 8, which is the budget update. Sian, welcome.
Ia, adroddiad sgenna fo 'ma, jyst diweddariad cyllideb 2024.
This is an update on the budget. We present this to you 3 times during the year, and it just gives you an overview of any significant environment or transfers in the budget. We are nearing the end of the last update now. And of course, there will be a final report in June as well. Part 1 just gives you a bit of background and the highlights during the year. We have significant projects ongoing, Life and the Carneddau, for example. And that is a significant part of the capital expenditure. Under 1.6, no additional grants have been received or are currently expected from the Welsh Government in this financial year, but since then we have received additional monies from them. The same as we usually get at the end of the year from them, occasionally that is. Part 2 gives you an overview or a summary, if you like, of the revised revenue budget. No major transfers have been made since we last reported to you, and the ones noted have already been approved, and there's no effect on the baseline either. And I did note under 2.4 that there's a £500,000 deficit. But the expected deficit at the end of the financial year is an estimated 500,000. And number 3, you can see the capital budget. Number 4, forecasted position for 2024-2025. The table gives you an example of the net expenditure. Under the second column, you can see it in comparison with the previous year. But of course, there will be grant income which will be included in there as well. Then from 4.3 onwards, those transfers that are significantly more than 10,000, they've been noted under the specific services, as you can see. 4.7, that is the main net spend, capital spend, that is. And part 5 just notes if there have been any environments over 30,000. There are no new ones since we reported to you last. The recommendation is to approve the report and note the current financial situation for 2024-25. Thanks. John, first of all, just to apologise, just not letting you know about the money that letting you know about the Welsh Government money. I got to know about it last weekend, and I've been away from the office a lot this week. I will circulate that. It's new, so I'll be circulating it to you and the staff as well. Thank you, Sian. Tim, then Brian. If it's the usual amount, did you say that at the end of the year? No, it's a one-off amount. Yes, it is, and 1.1 million of revenue. It's a great help during this period. Thanks, Tim. Brian first. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry. I note on the paragraph 4.7 the capital spend on Hafod Eryri. And I also note in another report Edward's suggestion of a assets group meeting. I'm just conscious that in my time we've had a number of significant spends and unexpected spends on Hafod Eryri, and I think we need some reassurance at some point, sooner rather than later, of what the situation with Hafod Eryri is and what the projection is for further spend on that because of the likely sizes of it. So it's really just putting a marker down that we make sure that gets picked up as we go forward with the asset review.
Yeah, cytuno efo hynna.
Yes, I agree with that. There are a few different things that are different in Eryri. And there were additional costs, of course, that we faced. The cost that we faced now is something with relation to the roof. It's been a problem for, well, since this building was commissioned, really. And we've been patching it up, and we're really hoping that this work now will ensure that that issue will finally disappear. And there's a warranty of 20 years on the work. And with that work being undertaken, I expect that the pointing work on the building will be done. The hope really is that we won't have to face significant costs. But when you consider the location of the building, we can't promise anything, obviously. But certainly I would agree that we need discussion in the assets subgroup. Ifor. It's already touched upon all the question I wanted to ask. And 1.1, is it aimed for specific projects? Is it slippage money in general? Yes. It's clean money, which is much more useful for us, really. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you both. If there are no further comments, Edgar, I'm just going to propose the recommendation. Anwen has seconded that. Okay, thanks, Dewi and Shan, for giving us the financial report. I've enjoyed reading item 9. It gives you a good feeling. And can we welcome Etta here to give us the volunteer and well-being annual report? This is the 4th annual report, and it just gives us an overview of what's been happening during the year. This year, we've focused a lot more on the feedback that we've had from volunteers. And it's really nice to hear the positive feedback. With the KPIs, some of the actions have been removed now because they have been completed. So the next step is to look at the next set of KPIs, and they'll be updated. Otherwise, I welcome any feedback. I'm here as a line manager to Etta. It's been a game changer since she's joined the authority in this post. She's worked so hard on changing the face of volunteering in the park, and I just wanted to praise her, and I'm really grateful to her. Thank you, Etta. Does anybody have any comments? I just wanted to praise the report, really. Everything that's included in it, it's really good, so very good. We should be really proud in Eryri, like the chair said. It's very heartening to see it and see the comments from the volunteers that work for us. It's an excellent piece of work that is undertaken by an excellent set of people. The same goes for Cariad Eryri. And if anybody volunteers, I'm sure there'll be ambassadors for the work of the park. And I'm very grateful to you for all of the work. Thanks, Etta, once again. Does anybody have any further comments? Ifor? It's such a clear and easy to read report. wouldn't mind you making a bit of work for me when I did my thesis, because it's very clear and very good. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And Rita, of course.
Louise, sorry, beg your pardon, Louise. Am I broken eye? Louise, she's talking about.
Yeah,
Louise.
okay, litter. Oh, I mean, I know I'm a completely out and out Luddite. No, not Luddite. Womble, that's the word I'm looking for. I just cannot understand the mentality of people that throw litter, but well done on collecting 1,302 bags of litter. Is there any way we could put take your litter home signs up somewhere, or do we already do that? You know, Snowdonia is one of the most beautiful parts of the British Isles, yet people still have this chuck it, somebody else will pick it up mentality. Is that something we can look into, these signs that say, please take your litter home? Or am I banging on the wrong tree again, banging my drum? I don't know. I despair at people's attitude.
Angela, ti isio di mewn?
Angela, did you want to come in there?
We've got several campaigns going on at the moment, and through the plastic-free Arwyddo scheme as well. We have got signs around, but we're always looking for new ideas, and we're working with Bangor University with their behavioural change unit on how we can target those people that, same as you know, it's really hard to get into the mentality of somebody who drops litter. So we're trying to work on maybe different strategies, but yeah, we're constantly trying new things, and we've got a few new ideas for this year as well. So yeah,
is there a chance I could scrounge a couple of litter pickers, because I do stop in laybys and pick it up. I try to do my little bit, but and my litter picker is showing its age. So if I could scrounge a few, maybe I'll take my arm debts out for a litter pick as well.
We'll get in touch, but the best thing to do is contact Keep Wales Tidy, and they've got various resources they can drop off in different communities. But yeah, I'll send you the details.
So what exactly did Keep Wales Tidy do? I came back from Cardiff the other day up the A470 towards Tidville, and it's awful. Can't we give them a nudge to say, Keep Wales Tidy, do what you're supposed to do?
Diolch, Louise. Ifawr, hen law, sgyn ti'n mynd Ifawr, ta cwestiwn arall Ifawr?
Hen law, sorry.
Hen law.
That's an old hand I have up.
Iawn, ta, diolch fawr. Symud
I'll remove that. Okay, moving on to item 10, therefore, the corporate work programme for 2024-2025. Iwan? This report is relatively similar. And John will be looking at the year to come. This looks at this current year, well, 2024-5. Usually we run through it page by page. And so on to page 65. If you have any comments or anything you want to raise, hands up, or let us know. 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96,
97,
97, 98,
98,
99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, and 107 and 108. Bingo. That's what they said. Anyway, do you have any comments to make on any of these pages? Everybody happy with that? Okay, thank you for running through them and reviewing them. Do you want to propose the recommendation? Okay, because we could just have a show of hands, please, to show that you're happy. On to item 11, therefore, which is the draft corporate work programme for 2025-2026. As you can see from the table, this is for the next year. And we discussed this with the management team. There have been a few amendments, but no major ones. I'm not intending to go through this in detail, but I am happy to take any questions on the content. And I'd just like you to adopt the recommendation, please. You can see the well-being period objectives there are coming to an end there. And so it's now time to formally review for the next period. But because the authority is reviewing the two statutory plans this year, I will be bringing you a report in June in front of the authority, so that we can defer the full review for a year potentially, so that we can at least start the review of the LDP and conciliary, because then they will have an effect on the well-being objectives. And I think we should start that process beforehand. I'll give you a report on that in June. I just wanted you to adopt these for the next year. The mindset for the well-being objectives. For example, conciliary involves the park, of course, and all of the partners feed into that. The way that we've structured the well-being objectives, it feeds into conciliary. And so if you were to review the well-being objectives now, it would be based on the old conciliary. And so it would just duplicate work, really. And looking at them, myself and John discussed this issue. They do still seem to be objectives that work for us, of course. So thanks, Iwan, John. Very happy to propose that recommendation. Well, with the discussion that we had yesterday with the Welsh Government on well-being and sustainable governance, happy to propose the recommendation. Edgar, second the recommendation made. Okay, can we have a show of hands, please? Thank you. So that's it. Do you want to go on straight on to the next meeting? We'll start the working group in 15 minutes. There is a different link for the working group meeting. Everybody happy that you've got the link at home?
No, I'm not happy. I haven't got it.
Okay, we'll have a break for 15 minutes. Louise needs the link.
The link. I haven't got the Zoom. Scores on the
You should have received it via email.
Right, if I'm not here,
I'll send you it if you want, Louise.
oh, thank
Catching
you.
the translator. I'll send you it, no worries.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
You're welcome. See you in 15 minutes.
Well,